Hello everyone, welcome to Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services. It's a video on daily news and editorial analysis, which I'll be covering from the Hindu and Indian Express. So the important editorial and news that is relevant for the preparation of civil services examination will be discussed in this session. Let's get started with the news topic list. Today is 20th of February. The first important news, that is Chandrayaan-3 lander successfully complete the key test. This is again an achievement of India in science and technology. Second is about measuring an electron magnetic moment. This is from the text and context page of the Hindu. Third, India plans to export the solar power. We see the detail and India target. Second last, that is center consider phased withdrawal of army from the Kashmir after the abrogation of Article 370. Finally, government is looking forward to withdraw the army in Kashmir. And the second and the last is an editorial curious case of disqualification of a politician. We'll see the detail about this as well. Apart from the news and editorial discussion, at the end of this video, there will be MCQ based questions. These questions will be based on current affairs that will help you for the upcoming prelims examination. So without any further delay, let's get started. And before I begin this session, those of you who are new to our channel, do not forget to subscribe Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services on YouTube. If you like this video, if you find this video informative and helpful, do press a like button. Starting the session with the first news, that is Chandrayaan-3 lander successfully complete key test. Something important for General Studies Paper 3 under the subtopic of General Studies, that is achievement of India in science and technology, Indianization of technology and development of new technology. So according to the Indian Space Research Organization, Chandrayaan-3 lander has successfully underwent the electromagnetic interference and electromagnetic compatibility. These two terms are again important for your examination, specifically for the prelims. They can ask you EMI and EMC is related to which of the following, right? So this is especially related to the lunar mission, and the lander of Chandrayaan-3 mission underwent the test from January 31st to February 2nd, 2023. Now, Chandrayaan-3, this is India's third moon mission that is slated to be launched later this year from the Satish Dhawan Space Center at Sriharikota. So the place and venue is again important for many competitive examination. A direct question is also framed. Now, the Indian maiden attempt to the rover moon was unsuccessful. The Chandrayaan-2 was unsuccessful, and after like the first, which was crashed also. Now Chandrayaan-3 is likely to be launched in June. So this is what the government is looking forward with, and even the ISRO, the nodal agency, which has all the capacity with working in terms of space sector, is endeavor to ensure that the mission of Chandrayaan-3 is successful mission. Now this is the image that was released, the Chandrayaan mission 3. Now about EMI and EMC test, क्या होती है ये test? This test is conducted for satellite missions to ensure the functionality of a satellite subsystem in a space environment and their compatibility which is there with the expected electromagnetic level. So this is checked before an actual conduct of test is done. The test is a measured milestone in realizations of the satellite. So a direct question with relations to EMI and EMC can be framed. Now about a Chandrayaan-3, some basics that might be relevant for your examination purpose. It's an upcoming lunar exploration mission by ISRO, and it is the third mission of Chandrayaan series. The first and second was not that successful. The primary objective of Chandrayaan-3 is to land the rover on the lunar mission and to conduct the scientific experiment and to study the composition of moon surfaces and subsurfaces, right? The mission is aimed at demonstrating India's technology capabilities for the lunar exploration. So this will be again a milestone for India, considering the other countries that have already conducted. India would be joining the league with this successful exploration effort. The Chandrayaan-3 is an interplanetary mission that has 3 digital modules. First is called propulsion module, second is the lander module, and third is rover. So it is a 3-module based mission that will take place in the lunar. The mission has a complexity called for establishing of radio frequency communications link between the modules as well. Now, moving to the other news, measuring an electron magnetic moment with extreme accuracy, something important for General Studies Paper 3, under the subtopic that is Achievement in Science and Technology. Now, in a recent study, the physics has reported that measuring of electrons magnetic moment with the precision of 0.13 parts per trillion. This is called PPT. There's some technical point that has evolved in this news, but for you, from examination perspective, we'll see some of specific important point that will be relevant. Now, the resulting measurement is 2.2 times more accurate than the previous best recorded 14 years ago, after which the new exploration in terms of measuring the particle in terms of parts per trillion was calculated. However, this has raised some questions about the physics not successful theory that is there with regards to the standard modes of particle physics, right? So, jo controversy basically, it's not actually the controversy part. It is actually the debate that is emerging out of the previous model that is existing called standard models of particles in physics. Now, what is standard model? To get a precise of that, the standard model is a theory that describes the properties of subatomic particle. जो subatomic particles होते हैं, उसकी properties बताती है, classify them into different group. So a classification is being done and determine how it affect the 3 of the 4 fundamental forces. कौन-कौन से 3 forces हैं? Basically, first is the strong nuclear force, second is weak nuclear force, and third is electromagnetic force. So these 3 force description can be evaluated once the standard model is being there in the particle, right? So the standard model in particle describe all these basic formalities. Now, the merits of standard model. In 1960, the physicists used the standard model to predict the existence of particle, जिसे बाद में Higgs boson के नाम से जाना गया in 2012. So this was the latest among the part that was discovered, and similarly, the standard model allows the physics to successfully predict the existence of properties of dozen of particle and consider to be one of the most successful theory in the history of physics. Now, how does the electron magnetic moment matter? कौन-कौन से ऐसे exercises हैं या फिर electronic magnetic moments की बात करें? How does it affect a particular experiment and the overall exploration path? The standard model for the most precise predictions of the electron is a magnetic model. Physics की अगर बात करें, जो magnetic model होती है वो describe करती है how a willing an electron can align itself to the direction of magnet. So it is somewhere related to the directional part. I'm not getting into detailed part of the magnetic moment matter because that is not relevant for examination purposes. जो basics हैं वो आपको पता होने चाहिए. The most precise predictions of the standard model agrees with the most precise determination of the property in an elementary particle of 1 parts per trillion. That is called PPT, right? Now, moving to the other news, India plans to export the solar power, something important for General Studies Paper 2 under the subtopic of General Studies, that is the government policies and intervention for the development of various sectors and issues arising from a design and implementations. According to the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, India can produce annually a solar module जो generate करेगी almost 100 gigawatt and can become a net exporter of power. This is what the ministry in its official statement has said. और ये एक बहुत बड़ी achievement होगी इंडिया के लिए जहाँ पे जो desired targets हैं वो fulfill होने के बाद export के भी options बनेंगे. Now, by 2026, Indian industry will be able to manufacture every year a solar module that can generate 100 gigawatt of power and help country as a net exporter of solar power. And this will significantly aid India's target of 500 gigawatt of electricity capacity from the non-fossil sources by 2030. In the Panchamrit initiative, Government of India and even the Prime Minister has categorically said during the COP26 meeting, he has said that India would be achieving the measured target, and among them is net zero emissions that is by 2070, and other measured target by 2030. Now, India's solar targets की अगर बात करें, as a part of climate pledge, India is said to have installed 175 gigawatt of renewable energy capacity by 2022. But actually, ये जो target है वो meet नहीं हो पाई है. India, like this include on the total part, include 100 gigawatt from solar energy, 60 gigawatt from wind energy, and 10 gigawatt from biomass, and 4 gigawatt from small hydro power energy. So I'm talking about the bifurcation of this 175. If you see the detailed part, how it is segregated. So 60 watt coming from the wind energy, if it is 60 watt from wind, 10 watt from biomass, and 5 watt from the hydropower, right? So this is what the totality is there. But for time being, India has only achieved 122. So of total of 175, India has only achieved 122 gigawatt target. And in a longer run, India can definitely achieve the target. Of this, the total social power that has been there is for 100 gigawatt, and only 62 had been installed. So these are the target, the actual executions part of India in terms of solar target. Now something very important, अगर India renewable energy targets की बात करें 2022 तक, ये कही गई थी 175 में 5 of the small hydropower, which I have already told you, 10 is for the gigawatt, 40 is for rooftop solar, and 60 from wind, and 60 from the solar photovoltaic. So this is again important if you're writing in mains specifically, आप एक flow diagram में भी ये चीजों को दिखा सकते हैं. Now, what is the advantages of a solar panel? Why there's a pitch for solar panel is solar energy. The solar energy is sustainable and alternative fuel to the fossil fuel. Comparatively, it is much sustainable in nature. And solar panel can provide user with massive saving in the entire electricity bill although. And using the plug and play model, the solar power tariff is reduced by more than 75%. Now, some bottlenecks that is there in terms of installations part. तो जो सबसे बड़ी bottleneck है वो है cost of solar module को लेकर के, because the installation part has a cost that is involved, and this is the one major bottleneck. And second, like while India has a traditional relied on Chinese made components, तो जो follow siliconic wafers हैं या फिर even बात करें modules की, that has a high custom duty because it is being imported from China. तो जो Indian manufacturers हैं उनको ये काफ़ी ज़्यादा महंगी पड़ती है. So the make in India capacity has to increase if India want to have an indigenous, the entire productions of solar power. Apart from the module price, land acquisition एक काफ़ी बड़ी challenge है जहाँ पे state government के साथ land acquire करना भी एक समस्या रही है. Despite the center commercializing 57 solar park with a capacity of 40 gigawatt, in the recent time only 10 gigawatt has been operationalized. So this is again something very important. All this constraint has to be there in mind with both the state government as well as with the central government, and a coordination effort is required to ensure that these bottlenecks are phased out and the way towards achieving the 175 gigawatt of the target can be achieved at the earliest. Now, going local is a solution. India would definitely need about 30 to 40 gigawatt of domestic purposes annually. जो खास करके it can rest upon the export part also. और incentive schemes की अगर बात करें, it is in place and designed to encourage the manufacturers, right? And the future phase of India renewable energy development will lead to the hybrid projects, renewable energy parks that will have host solar and wind projection along the battery and storage system. So these are again the important part. If you want to go local, the Indianization of this sector is very, very important. Government has come up with many important scheme like PLI scheme, production linked incentive scheme, which is also working towards the solar sector, photovoltaic cell and EVs. Now, moving to the other news, Center considering phase withdrawal of army from Kashmir, something important for General Studies paper 2. Under the subtopic of General Studies, that is the functions and responsibility of union and states and issues and challenges pertaining to the federal structure of this country. So a proposal to totally remove or completely remove the Indian army from the Kashmir Valley in the hinterland is currently under being discussed. The central government along with the state, along with the central enforcement agencies are working in coordinations that how we can remove basically in terms of conditions, there will be other paramilitary forces that will be deployed. So 3.5 years after the Union government has removed the special status, that is Article 370 and Article 35A, मुझे पता है आपको ये पता होगा what exactly it is, provided for Jammu and Kashmir in response to the deployment of sustainable additional troops. So I'll briefly tell you what is Article 370. 370 gave autonomous status to the state of Jammu and Kashmir, and Article 35A provided special right and privilege to the permanent resident of Jammu and Kashmir. These two were abrogated by the central government, and a special status that was removed. Now the part of governor that is administrating the entire Kashmir region. Now, what is the plan of action for the government of India? The security establishment said that the CRPF, Central Reserve Police Force, will be brought in terms in replacing the army. Army को replace करके इन्हें लाई जाएगी, और जो challenges है counter terrorism operations के उन्हें किए जाएंगे. The matter is under the serious discussions at an interministerial level, which will be again taken finally when it's found to be feasible. And once the matter is final, the part of army will be moving out and the CRPF will be taking their positions. And if approved, army will be present only in the line of actual control. तो जो LOC है वहां पे आर्मी की डिप्लॉयमेंट अभी भी रहेगी, बट और सारे एरिया से CRPF की डिप्लॉयमेंट की जाएगी. According to officials, the army maintain a strength of around 1.3 lakh personnel in the entire JK, which is around 80% of the deployment in the border areas. Now, force deployment की अगर बात करें, at present, according to the officials, army maintain a strength of 1.3 lakh personnel in Jammu and Kashmir only, right? And even to which the JNK around 80,000 are deployed on the border areas. Again, a huge number of personnel is deployed, and 40,000 to 45 personnel are there from the Rashtriya Rifle and other mandated to counter the Kashmirian clans. CRPF said that the strength is close to 60,000 personnel in JNK, and of which 45,000 are deployed in Kashmir Valley only. Now, moving to the editorial of the day, the curious case of disqualifications of a politician, something important for General Studies Paper 2, under the subtopic that is the Parliament and State Legislature functions, conduct of businesses, power and privileges, and issues arising from it. So what are the issue under this editorial? So the theme is a disqualification of a member of parliament. We'll see the background, some specific provision which is there in constitution, Lily Thomas versus Union of India के case को देखेंगे, the implication part, and what next for this particular cases. Now, recently, Kerala High Court has suspended the verdict were passed by the Kavaratti District and Sessions Court, and the order was passed with an attempt to murder where a sitting member of parliament was disqualified, right? So the event has raised several interesting questions about the disqualification of member, and you as an aspirant of civil services must know what is the essential condition. Although I'll be discussing the nature of disqualification, the constitutional provision in the later part of the video. Now, discussions की अगर बात करें, the issue on whether the disqualifications of a convicted is final or whether it can be revoked. This is what has been the central theme of this article. And also from examination point of view, आप disqualifications के provisions जरूर देखें, और कुछ important aspects जो case related है वो भी आपको पता होनी चाहिए. The issue arises whether a legislator is disqualified. Now, getting into the background part of this, the member of parliament of Lakshadweep, right, was convicted by the Kavaratti Sessions, that is the court, for attempt of murder, and he was sentenced to 10 years of imprisonment. So imprisonment itself means that he is convicted, right? He is convicted for an offense that has been proved in a court of law. Now, in January, the Lok Sabha announced that he was disqualified as a member of parliament with immediate effect from his date of conviction, right? This is the rules and procedures that the conventional parliament used to follow. Further, उसके consequences में election commission ने क्या किया? Election commission has fixed a by-election date for the constituency for 27th of February 2023. So what happens whenever a place or a seat become vacant, a by-election, right? By-election की जाती है वहाँ पे ताकि उस सीट को fulfill किया जा सके, and election commission take a note on this regard. ना कुछ स्पेसिफिक प्रोविजंस की अगर बात करें, क्या क्या प्रोविजंस हैं. फर्स्ट अगर डिस्क्वालिफिकेशंस की बात करें, द प्रोविजंस ऑफ डिस्क्वालिफिकेशन इज अंडर आर्टिकल 102 ऑफ द इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. It specifies that the member shall be disqualified for contesting elections for being a member of parliament under certain conditions. पहला, that he should be holding an office of profit. Second, being unsound of mind or insolvent and not being citizen of India. अगर ये तीन conditions होती हैं तो उसकी disqualification को पे कोई सवाल नहीं उठा सकता. No, there can be no ambiguity in the part of disqualification that can take place, and it is something that's inevitable. This is required. The authorized parliament to take the law determining conditions for disqualification, and this procedure is analogous to the part of state legislature. ये similar है, analogous काम करती है जिस तरह से state में भी इसी parameters पे disqualification allow की जाती है. Now, representation of people act, अगर RPA act की बात करें, there is a specific act which is there. So RPA Act 1951 and there's other called 1950, right? We are more concerning here in 1951. So the RPA Act provide that the person will be disqualified if he is convicted or sentenced to imprisonment for 2 years or more. अगर 2 साल या 2 साल से ज़्यादा के लिए उनको convict की जाती है, then he is disqualified. The person disqualified for a period of imprisonment and further 6 years. Now, this is an exception of a sitting member. They have been provided a period for 3 months from the date of convictions to appeal. तो यहाँ पे ये कैच है, अगर कोई भी कन्विक्शन हुई है तो अपील अभी भी अलाउ की जाती है. लाइक for 3 months he has a time that he can appeal, right? The disqualification will not be applicable until the appeal is decided. जब तक अपील डिसाइड नहीं होती है तब तक उसे डिस्क्वालीफाई नहीं किया जा सकता. This is one part of the liberty, or you can say the protection that is given to a member of parliament. Now, the differential treatment of candidate for elections and sitting members was challenged under Article 14, that is with regards to the right to equality. Now, इसी केस में लिली थॉमस वर्सेस यूनियन ऑफ इंडिया की केस है, where 2013 the 2-judge bench of the Supreme Court against considering whether the exception was constitutionally valid or not. Now, it stated that Article 102 empower the parliament to make this regard with regard to disqualification of a person for being chosen as the member of either house of the parliament, right? Court ने observe किया Article 102 को, and even it says it interpreted that the phrase to mean whether the parliament could specify certain conditions. क्या parliament किसी special conditions में अलग disqualifications के लिए procedures रखेगी, या whether it will equally apply to all candidates, right? So this was a one point that court has taken note of. And further, the judgment cited that Article 101, if member of parliament was disqualified under 102, his seat shall thereupon become vacant, right? And therefore the disqualification was automatic, and hence immense effect to this condition was evident in Article 102, which was meeting the essential requirement. So 101, 102 RPA Act और इसके रिगार्डिंग जो और कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल प्रोविजंस दिए गए हैं वो आपको पता होने चाहिए कि पार्लियामेंट के पास क्या क्या पावर्स हैं, क्या क्या कन्वेंशंस यूज की जाती है फॉर अ डिस्क्वालिफिकेशन ऑफ अ मेंबर. नाउ इसके इम्प्लीकेशंस क्या होंगे? सो व्हाट इफ अ कन्विक्टेड इज सस्पेंडेड, राइट? एक केस है जहां पे नवजोत सिंह सिंधु की जो केस थी उसे कन्विक्ट किया गया, एंड ही वाज सेंटेंस्ड टू 3 year imprisonment when he was an MP. I have taken this example to just relate with the contemporary issues which were there, and even there was a MP from Samajwadi Party also, the part where he was also disqualified, right? Azim Khan was a man. So he resigned, basically the resignation of a seat, but wanted to contest election and appeal for his own for conviction. The state was put by the स्टे पुट की गई थी हाई कोर्ट के द्वारा. द सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने फर्दर इसे स्टे किया कन्विक्शंस को 2007 में, विच रिमूव द डिस्क्वालिफिकेशन and will be decided further, right? So a stay was put in by the Supreme Court, and decision allowed him to contest the election. So this is how the implications work when the cases reaches out to the honorable court, whether it is high court, lower court, and even be the apex court, that is the Supreme Court of India. Now what next? The Lakshadweep seat will be declared vacant by the Election Commission of India after the stay order which is there announced deferred by the by-elections. The Lok Sabha has kept the seat vacant and not yet retained any member of parliament. The reason that High Court has granted a stay was to avoid any expenses elections, because in a by-election, a lot more expenses is there for a single seat. and they need to have a strike a balance between the constitutional provisions and the privilege of a member of parliament, right? This is something which should go hand on hand. And even in terms of article 14 जो सबके लिए यूनिफॉर्म है, राइट टू इक्वालिटी की बात करती है, उसे भी ध्यान में रखते हुए सारे डिसीजन को लिए जाने चाहिए, बिकॉज देयर आर लॉट मोर जजमेंट दैट इज कमिंग आउट ऑफ फ्रॉम द सुप्रीम कोर्ट विद रिगार्ड्स टू द इक्वालिटी. So this is how you can conclude the part of the answer if you're writing specifically with regards to the disqualification of members. Now, moving ahead with the MCQ questions of the day, before I proceed, just to tell you the answers of Saturday questions. For first question, the correct option was A. For second question, the correct option was A. Today's MCQ for practice. First is about Ghar portal has recently been launched by which of the following organization? NCPCI, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Niti Aayog, and CSIR. So do check it out for the correct option. Now, the other question is One District, One Product. It was launched by the state government of Tamil Nadu in 2018 and later was adopted by the union government. This was launched by the Ministry of Food Processing Industries in 2018. So what do you have to do? You have to choose the correct option. If you know, it's well and good. If not, you have to read out completely about One District, One Product program. So this was all about for the daily news and editorial analysis, followed by the MCQ questions. If you have any other concern, you can reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to assist you. For time being, I'm signing off. Thank you so much for watching this video.